Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Danny Laurel. Now here are the biggest stories on the economic and corporate fronts. President Bongbong Marcos hopes to strengthen collaborations between the Philippine government and Japanese firms during his official working visit over in Japan. Speaking at a dinner meeting with executives from Metro Pacific Investment Corporation and Japanese firm Mitsui, the president believes stronger working relations will help boost economic growth in the Philippines. Mitsui is engaged in logistics and financing, infrastructure projects, iron and steel products, and information and communications technology. The chief executive said revitalizing these partnerships will help drive economic growth in the country.
And we look forward to the discussions that we will be having here for the next few days. As we have great hopes that this will be a driver in the transformation of our economy.
The president is slated to hold a few closed-door meetings with his delegation and Japanese counterparts this morning. He will then pay a courtesy visit to Emperor Naruhito and Empress Masako along with the First Lady. This will be followed by a documents exchange ceremony in the Prime Minister's office. Now, aside from infrastructure and digital transformation, President Marcos is also pushing for stronger agricultural ties with Japan.
At opens up hindi lamang the usual exchange of technology, but that's an important part of it. But also investment in agriculture and hopefully opening markets in Japan for our agricultural products. So that's a very wide-ranging discussion.
Now, still on the Philippine delegation's official working trip to Japan, the country's economic team is set to present the Philippine economy's performance and outlook at an economic briefing on Friday, that's February 10th. Now, during the briefing, Philippine economic managers are expected to discuss investment opportunities in the Philippines. President Bongbong Marcos is slated to deliver the keynote address. The Budget Department will also highlight important features of the Philippines' national budget as well as discuss the country's expenditure accounts, budget reform initiatives, and the government's priority legislative agenda. Some cabinet secretaries are also set to tackle the Philippines' infrastructure and industry sectors during the briefing. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas has set higher liquidity and capital requirements for electronic money issuers. Now, those with monthly outstanding balances of at least 100 million pesos must maintain liquid assets in trust accounts equivalent to at least 50%. Now, those with 12-month average value transactions of at least 25 billion should maintain a capital of 200 million, while small-scale ones need 100 million. The BSP said the changes seek to enable e-money issuers to respond to financial sector risks such as cybersecurity and money laundering. The country's dollar reserves rose to a 6-month high as of end January. Data from the Bangko Sentral showed that gross international reserves, or GIR, increased by 3.7% to $99.7 billion. That's from $96.1 billion as of end December. The Bangko Sentral says the month-on-month increase was mainly due to the net foreign currency deposits of the national government with the BSP, which included proceeds of its global bond issuance. The government raised $3 billion from its second issuance of global bonds last month. Bangko Sentral Governor Felipe Medalla believes headline inflation most likely peaked in January after the Consumer Price Index rose to a fresh 14-year high of 8.7% last month. However, Medalla says he cannot rule out another supply shock that may affect prices moving forward. The BSP has earlier said that it remains focused on bringing inflation back to the government's target and stands ready to adjust policy settings as necessary to anchor inflation expectations. The central bank expects inflation to average 4.5% this year before easing to 2.8% next year. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Danny Laurel. The Philippine Embassy in Ankara has begun reaching out to Filipinos in quake-hit areas in Turkey. The embassy said Ambassador Maria Elena Algabre is leading the team to meet with as many Filipinos. The Philippine government has also deployed a humanitarian response team to help in rescue efforts. The group consists of over 80 members, including personnel from the Armed Forces and the Health Department. They will bring around 16 tons of medicine and medical equipment to Filipinos and others affected by the tremor. The magnitude 7.8 earthquake has reportedly killed over 12,000 people in Turkey and Syria.
They're all trained in search and rescue operations. Marunong sila sa mga collapse structures search and rescue. They have the training and equipment to do these special tasks.
The Trade Department has released a new suggested retail price or SRP bulletin. Prices of some basic necessities and prime commodities have gone up by as much as 10%. These include canned sardines, powdered milk, bread, instant coffee, and luncheon meat. Prices of some non-food items like detergent, soap, candles, and batteries were also hiked. Undersecretary Ruth Castelo described these as, quote, the most fair and reasonable increases the DTI could allow. The vehicle production in the Philippines saw an increase of 10% in 2022. Data from the ASEAN Automotive Federation saw Philippine motor vehicle output rise to over 92,000 units last year. Despite the 10% growth, the country lagged behind its Southeast Asian peers, with Myanmar, Malaysia, and Thailand leading the region. The Philippines, however, made it up by topping vehicle sales in Southeast Asia, which climbed 31% to more than 352,000 units. The Chamber of Automotive Manufacturers of the Philippines says the country's car sales indicate recovery from the effects of the pandemic. On to some global business news. Disney beats earnings estimates as streaming subscriber losses were not as bad as feared. A market analyst explains on Bloomberg why he believes 2023 is a better year for Disney, that despite the company's decision to cut 7,000 jobs and slash $5.5 billion in costs.
Ross, what was the most important bit for you? What is it that you think's driving these shares higher in after hours?
Well, I think that they showed that their business is not only stable, but has the potential for a lot of growth, actually. So when you actually look at the sub losses, let's say at Disney Plus, it was really at Hotstar in the Indian area part of their business, Hotstar, and it was really a minimal amount of people and the lowest cost subscribers. So when you actually look at Disney Plus and their ability to hopefully make money off of this in the future, and then the cost cuts, but then how strong the parks and resorts business continues to be, and with Iger back at the helm, it really gives confidence that they can get the rest of their businesses all working together at some point in the next 12 months and really get some earnings momentum back. So I love the report, what I've seen so far, and I'm very confident about Disney's future.
EPS beat in the fiscal fourth quarter, and then reiterating that guidance to hit profit in the D2C business by 2024. How much for you is that Iger doing this, the sort of short-term effect of him coming back in?
Well, I think there's a psychological effect, and then there's a real effect, because the bottom line is Chapek was a bad manager for Disney and didn't do a good job. And with Iger back at the helm, Disney's really driven by content, and it's something I think a lot of people forget, that making great movies is what ultimately drives everything at Disney, whether it's consumer products or the parks or Disney Plus. And so Iger's focus on content and his relationships in Hollywood to get better content and to make better content really bodes well for Disney over the short and medium term.
Longer term, can they square that circle of cost cuts and great production? How is the restructuring of the business and perhaps giving more power back to the creatives going to ensure they can have that balance?
Well, I think this is, a lot of businesses are dealing with this, where they grew a lot of people over the last 3 or 4 years, and now everybody's trying to right-size their business, especially the mega cap stocks like Disney. And so I think having you're going to see this in a lot of companies, a real cost conscious focus and making sure that all of their employees are contributing the amount necessary to get the results needed from a financial perspective is really important. But it's also predicated upon not hurting your own core business. And I think Iger is the person to implement that strategy for Disney. And that's why I think the markets like it.
Yeah, currently looking at new Toy Stories, new Frozens. My children will be thrilled. I'm looking also at what Bob Iger has been saying on the call. Just take a little listen to what he's saying in terms of curation.
We will aggressively curate our general entertainment content. We will reassess all markets we have launched in and also determine the right balance between global and local content. We'll adjust our pricing strategy, including a full examination of our promotional strategies.
Ross, you reminded us of how big Disney Plus or generally D2C is in India. Just how much of a focus does Disney need internationally at the moment? Because we can get very myopic about what's happening here in the United States.
Yeah, so it's really interesting because, you know, Netflix, for example, is a global business, and you look at the content today and you're getting content from like all over the place, and a lot of it's really good. And they've been doing really well with subtitles. And I think Disney needs to do the same thing. And especially India is a huge market for Disney Plus Hotstar, and it's a very, you know, deep movie focused consumer there. So, you know, we've got to make content that really serves the different audiences that are paying for Disney, but we also have to do it in a way that makes economic sense as well. And I think that is a real challenge that streamers face on an international level. But for Disney's core movie and production, most people around the world like that content, Americans and everyone else. So Disney has a great position to leverage their content in every market.
And for more updates, visit News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World Online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account now. That's at www.signalplay.com, and stream One News Live anytime, anywhere. I'm Danny Laurel. Join us again. That's at 2 p.m. We are One News, all sides, all the time.